Hello and welcome to another revision video for AQA GCSE Religious Studies. This one is focusing on the church and the church's involvement in the community. Actually takes place as part of the Christian Practices paper, not Christian Beliefs and Teachings, as we have written down the bottom. So, Jesus said in Matthew 18 verse 20 that for where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am with them. And that is a church. The church is the people who gather in the name of Christ. It is also a building, of course, all right, but people who gather together in the name of Christ are known as the church, the body of Christ. This was at Wembley Stadium in 1990. Something 3. It was called the Champion of the World Tour. I was actually there and I'm in that photograph. It feels like a past life, but there you go. All right, so the role of the church in the world and the community: to support local community projects, and let me just shrink myself, get me out of the way, to provide social services, health and education, to help those in need, to campaign for justice, to provide activities for young people such as youth groups, all right, to educate about Christianity, of course, and to spread the message. And it is a place for worship and a place to socialize. All of these things are part of what makes up the role of a church. And we focus on a key word in the Christian tradition called Agape, which is selfless, sacrificial, unconditional love. This is something that Jesus taught and Paul taught. And you have to ask yourself, how does this influence Christians? If Christians are taught to be selfless, sacrificial, and offer unconditional love, how will that influence the way in which they live their lives? And here we have 3 examples. We have food banks, where Christian organizations and Christian people get together in order to provide food for people who need it, essentially. The street pastors are a church-based organization that go out on like Friday, Saturday nights from 10 till 4 o'clock in the morning, essentially to look after drunk people. That's how it started, to make sure people had a safe place and safe go-to place on the streets. And evangelism. Evangelism is to spread the word of Christianity in order to get more people to come to the church and to believe in Jesus Christ. So let's have a look at the food banks first. So in Matthew 25, verse 35 to 40, we've looked at this in the previous video. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. And then if you jump to the bottom of the verse, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. So this is the inspiration behind the food banks. Basically, Jesus was saying, feed the hungry and give water to the thirsty. And when you do so, you're doing it to please God and you're doing it to help God as you help people. So street pastors, James 2 verse 17 says, in the same way, faith by itself is not accompanied by action, is dead. And this is the idea of salvation through grace or good works, which we looked at in a previous video. And the street pastors essentially say that you can't just sit back and let everything happen. You've got to go out into the world and you've got to do something. You've got to care for people. You've got to be part of the community. Evangelism is a mission. Essentially, the mission is a vocation to spread the faith, and evangelism is showing faith in Jesus by telling others about him. And we have what is known as the Great Commission, the last thing that Jesus told his disciples to do. Matthew 28, go and make disciples of all nations. This was the last thing that Jesus said to his followers, go and make disciples of all nations. So it's the Great Commission. This is what Christians believe they are supposed to do because God told them to do it. We have this word called reconciliation, which is part of the role of the church, which is to restore harmony to relationships that have broken down. Now, inspired by the way in which humans were reconciled to God through Jesus' sacrifice, the church, in some instances, tries to reconcile relationships that have broken down across the world. So we have 3 main words: community, growth, and worldwide. So within the community, we have street pastors, food banks, evangelism, and charity. We have the church looking to grow, the growth of the church. Through this, we get mission, evangelism, spreading the faith, and people who have converted to Christianity. And in the worldwide church, we have reconciliation, fights against persecution, and responses to poverty. Those responses to poverty in the worldwide church can take the form of charities such as Christian Aid, Tear Fund, and CAFOD, which all aim under the banner of Christianity to alleviate the suffering of the poor people of the world. Hopefully this helps in some way. Good luck with your exams.